with the latest on the corporate front, all the market trends, expert opinion, and sound business advice. It is your unique window into the business world, direct from the heart of China.
Hello and welcome to Biz Today. I'm Zhao Yang in Beijing. Coming up, we will have half an hour of business news and analysis. On today's show, new trends in China's Spring Festival tourism and consumption. And we will also take a look at the global AI governance. And now let's begin with our top story. Across China, vibrant Spring Festival celebrations are underway as the nation is in its most crucial holiday season. The Chinese Lunar New Year is about homecomings. Chunyun, or the Spring Festival travel rush, is the world's largest annual human migration. This year, Chunyun is expected to set a new record of 9 billion passenger trips during the 40-day travel peak. And the traditional practice of family reunion is no longer the sole focus. An increasing number of individuals want to celebrate Spring Festival by traveling to various destinations. Meanwhile, watching new blockbuster movies has become a cherished part of the season. And China's leading online shopping platforms also capitalize on the traditional high-spending season. Kuaishou's popular retail platform has nearly doubled its orders this year. So to better understand the new trends in China's Spring Festival tourism and spending, and what does all this mean for China's economy, join us on the line now are Chen Jiahe, Chief Investment Officer at Novem Archi Technologies, Liu Baocheng, Professor with the University of International Business and Economics, and also Yan Liang, Professor of Economics, Willamette University. So Jiahe, I will start with you. We are now in the Spring Festival holiday season. So how do you celebrate the Lunar New Year? Are you traveling?
Well, you could say I'm traveling. I'm coming to Hainan province and to visit my relative here. So it's kind of traveling or staying at your own family. That's probably the same thing for me. It's not much difference. But I can see people here are really traveling from all over the country to spend their Lunar New Year in Hainan, especially a lot of people from the northeast provinces, because the northeast provinces is pretty cold during the winter. So they're coming to Hainan to spend this holiday with a warmer weather.
And so, Yan, this year, the Spring Festival travel rush is expected to set a new record of 9 billion passenger trips during the 40-day travel peak. So what do this figure tell us?
Right. Good to talk to you, Zhao Yang. Happy New Year. So yes, this is a record-setting new number. I think last year there were about 4.7 billion trips, and this year it is expected to reach 9 billion. So I think that really shows, two things. One is that, people's life now are going to sort of return to a sort of new normalcy. Spring Festival has been the festival where people visit back home and also travel. And that was interrupted by the pandemic. And last year, people start to return to the normalcy. They start to travel again. And now I think this year, this kinds of trend consolidated. People would travel, to see their family members and also, do some tourism either within the country or go abroad. So that indicates that, again, people's lives are going back to normalcy. And the second, I think what it indicates is that, the economy continues to recover. People's confidence starts to continue to be strengthened. So they're going to, spend money, they're going to travel, and they're going to, enjoy themselves during the holiday breaks. So I think this is a good sign, and hopefully this kind of momentum, with consumption, with consumer spending, it's going to continue because we do know, service sector is a very important part of Chinese economy. And, just last year, the retail services has increased by 20% year on year. So if this momentum can continue on, this will definitely help to boost the Chinese economy.
So, Baocheng, the traditional practice of family reunion is no longer the sole focus for this season, and an increasing number of individuals want to celebrate the Spring Festival by traveling. So what do you make of this new trend?
Well, the Chinese society has been in a rapid changing in terms of their culture, and particularly due to the urbanization process, more of the younger people, they get their families in the city to begin with as a migrating worker, and then they get more and more detached actually from their hometown, which I think is really a social progress, new fashion of consumption, really are there to propel them to care more about health in the consumption pattern, and also the communication is getting so fast. People can instantly talk to their family members on a daily basis. So therefore, the type of physical union becomes less and less important. And then there's also a sort of emancipation for people after the COVID, and now when everything is returning to normal, they really wanted to compensate themselves by spreading their footprint to many parts of the world. And now we also notice that there's also a rising aid from the artificial intelligence. I notice people around me, they buy the robots at home, and they play with the intelligent watches and even goggles. So it's really a diversified pattern for people to consume and for people to enjoy the Spring Festival.
A lot of tourism and spending. So, yeah, for the domestic tourism, Hainan in southern China has been a hot destination for winter in the past several years. But Harbin in the northeast China has become the hottest destination this winter. So what has changed, and why is Harbin so appealing?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think, the very well-known places like Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, Chengdu, these are still ranking very high in terms of tourist destination. But you're right, Harbin now ranked the top six in terms of the most, travel destination. And I think one of the reasons, of course, is, as we know, the government, the businesses, and also the local Harbin residents, they're really trying to attract tourists. They have put up, this really spectacular ice and snow sculptures, 1,000 of them, to have this kind of, ice ice festival to attract a lot of tourists. Then you also have, businesses that are doing the hot balloon rides, that do, bonfire parties. So a lot of the new experiences that attract people. And then not to mention, the local people are very hospitable. They, offer free rides to some tourists, for example. So all this, I think, become very attractive. And then on top of that, you have the social media that I think really play a very important role in showcase, the wonderful attractions in Harbin, and that, also showcase the wonderful experiences people have. And so I think that really attracts a lot of people. And then from the demand side, again, we have, not only people who are really ready to spend money and go travel and experience different cultures, different, sceneries, but we also have, as Professor Liu talked about, a lot of the younger millennials and Gen Z, they really wanted to have something new. They want to experience something different. So I think all of this together, generate a sort of a perfect storm that, there are a lot of traveling and travel also to, some of the less well-known places. And I think that trend is going to continue on. So it is a great opportunity, I think, for many localities to put up their, unique cultural attractions and, do very well in terms of how, they receive the tourists, and would really, take on the bandwagon of promoting local tourism.
And Jiahe, so in light of the impressive success of the cities such as Harbin this year and Zibo last year, so how can other cities learn from their experiences to attract visitors?
Well, I think in order to attract visitors, especially in this new world where you had, a lot of new media stuff, live streaming, all sorts of things, I think there are a few points that for the other cities to learn that if they want to make a successful tourism industry. The first is that you really have to have something really interesting to attract people. I mean, look at Zibo, it got a lot of barbecue shops. I mean, it's not many cities around this country has so many barbecue shops. And Harbin is even more particular that it got a very good winter, a lot of snow. I mean, you don't have this much snow in many other provinces of China. I think it's probably 80 to 85% of the population is not having this much snow during the winter. So the first thing is that you really have to get something to attract the people. The second is that you have to broadcast yourself on the new media. Let people know that you have all these things. That's very important because nowadays people just get so much information from live streaming, from short video compared with before. People now read less books, less articles, they watch less TV, but they spend much more time on the new media. So just tell them what you have in the new media is very important. And the third point is that you have to treat the tourists really well, which means you have to get a market that is very matured, hotels, market supervision, good taxis, all these kind of things. So you have to do this really well that people will enjoy visiting the city at last. So these are three very important issues.
So, Jiahe, just now we talk about the domestic tourism. For overseas tourism, China has reached a series of visa-free agreements with countries like Thailand, Malaysia, and Singapore. So, do you expect more Chinese to, travel to those countries during the Spring Festival?
Sure. I mean, if you look at the international traveling of the Chinese people, it's been gradually increasing or rebounding back since the beginning of last year after the COVID is finished. But the rate is actually, the growth rate has been slower compared with the domestic traveling, basically because Chinese people, they always need a special assistance if they go to a foreign country, because there's not many countries in the world that speak Chinese. I mean, it's probably just a few countries like Singapore or Malaysia that you can find a lot of Chinese speaker, and probably some cities of Canada. But in most other cities, you don't have a lot of Chinese speaking locals. So the Chinese people need the assistance of travel agencies, translators, tourism guides to help them to go to the other countries to visit. So for the 3 years of the fighting against the COVID, many of these companies have shifted their businesses and translators have changed their jobs. So now it takes time to re-employ them back. So that's why we see the international traveling of the Chinese people is actually slower compared with the domestic traveling. But it is growing and gradually growing. And a slower recovery means that this recovery is going to take a longer pace, probably in this year as well, and next year as well. So you will see that the international traveling of Chinese people to be gradually increasing in the next 24 months. And with all these visa-free programs that has been conducted between China and many other countries, especially like Singapore and Thailand, you will definitely see more Chinese people go to these countries, as well as these countries' people coming to China.
And Jiahe, so besides traveling, spending on goods and entertainment is also booming, and people in Northeast China crowded into the open markets to purchase the New Year goods, enjoy local cuisines, etc., etc. So what do you think people will spend their money on, especially during the Spring Festival season? Does this reflect any new trends of the consumption?
Well, for the consumption market, I think there are a few trends. First is that the overall consumption market is keep on growing. That's if you look at the percentage of consumption in the Chinese economy right now, and you compare this percentage with matured economies around the world, you will find that Chinese people are consuming less compared with GDP. So the percentage of consumption is lower in China compared with mature economies. And you can see that the growth of the consumption market is faster than many other economic sectors like industry, export, investment, all these kind of things. So consumption is going to lead the Chinese economic growth in the next decade. Another trend is that Chinese people used to spend a lot of money on either the real estate or the consumption items relating with real estate. For example, fridge, washing machine, TV sets, all these kind of things. When you buy a new home, you buy 2 sets of new air conditioner, all these kind of things. But now with the slowing down of the real estate market, this means Chinese people are shifting their consumption from the focus on the real estate and the real estate related items toward other items. I mean, daily items that include a lot of things like restaurant, shopping, supermarkets, traveling, all these kind of things. That's why we see that the traveling market, the tourism market has actually been rising quite rapidly in this winter. I think the data from Hainan province said their airline ticket has been rising 10% this year compared with last year, basically because they're having way more tourists.
Well, the New Year's Eve dinner is also quite important Chinese traditions. So, Baocheng, with the urban lifestyles become faster, fewer people are now cooking, and more people are choosing the ready-made or pre-made dishes instead. There are, of course, pros and cons. So, what are the culture or traditional, implications of this change, and how do you see this ready-made food industry? Will it be booming?
Well, comfort and convenience are always on the agenda as the social, cultural evolvement. And now, yes, this also represents the further specialization among people in terms of division of labor. And therefore, people calculate how much time and money they're going to spend versus the buying some of the external services. So therefore, food delivery becomes a more of popular culture, and that can really give the people more time for leisure and do things they really like. And in the same way, we can see that a competition drives those restaurants and or central kitchens to deliver better service and better quality of their food. And, some rich families even invite chefs from different restaurants to cook for them at home in order to entertain their guests, etc. So this is really a trendsetter. And now I can see that this will further push forward not only the specialization of labor in the society, but also to push forward the improvement in terms of the quality of the food and services in the catering industry.
So, Yan, do you agree with Baocheng on that?
I totally agree. I do think that it brings convenience. It also, basically, if you don't have to cook a lot, but you can enjoy still gourmet food with your family and spend more time with your family members, I think that is a win-win. And especially, for people like me, right, and many others who live abroad, when we have these ready-made cuisines that were made in China but exported to the United States, the 螺蛳粉, that's a great treat. So some of these very classic Chinese local foods that are able to enjoy it elsewhere around the world, I think that is totally a great bonus for the rest of us. Yes.
As a matter of fact, actually, my wife has been complaining over the last 2 days by having to entertain so many people and doing all the cooking, etc. So probably I'm getting too old to be adaptive, but I will try to really to buy some of the external services at home when we have too many nieces and nephews and many other friends visiting our house.
Because this is new trends. So, Jiahe, in the year 2023, consumption actually contributed to over 80% of China's GDP growth. And some say the anticipated spending over the Lunar New Year signals the country's steady economic recovery. So, how optimistic are you about China's economy in the year 2024? And what can China do to boost the consumption further?
Well, if we look at 2024, we have enough reasons to expect a pretty good year, basically because the impact of real estate has been diminishing. I mean, the real estate market is stabilizing right now. That is to say that the economic growth in China in this year are having much less burden compared with last year. And if you look into the long term, the current Chinese per capita GDP is about 13,000 USD. And I think there shall be no problem for us to see that at least this economy will achieve 20,000 USD per capita in probably just a few years or 5 or 10 years. So this is something that we can really expect.
So we're speaking with Chen Jiahe, Chief Investment Officer at Novum Archi Technologies, Yan Liang, Professor of Economics, Willamette University, and also Liu Baocheng, Professor with the University of International Business and Economics. And after a short break, we'll take a look at the global AI governance. Stay with us.
Deep Dive, a podcast of CGTN Radio. We go beyond headlines with reporters from around the world. Search for Deep Dive on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen. Take a deep dive into the news every week. Hear our conversations.
You're listening to Biz Today. I'm Zhao Yang in Beijing. China has expressed its readiness to participate in the global efforts to promote the ethical governance of artificial intelligence for the benefit of humanity. Vice Education Minister Wang Jiayi made those remarks at a UNESCO forum held in Slovenia this week, and representatives from 67 countries convened there to discuss inclusive approaches to AI governance. So, Yan, I will start with you. So first, what's the current worldwide progress on the AI development?
Right. So I think the AI market has been really growing very rapidly. I think with the generative AI, especially like ChatGPT, and now they're, putting forth even newer versions of it, and it's more powerful. And then we have all these machine learning and also predictive AI that has been, popularizing, and many of the companies are investing. And so the market is getting greater and greater and bigger, and it's projected to continue to grow. And so AI is going to affect many of the sectors in the economy, from manufacturing to consumer industries to, many of the other sectors. And according to the IMF, the AI would affect 40% of the global jobs. So this is going to be very prominent. And so I think with that, it's important to have the regulatory framework in place. And this needs to be, international in nature, because, a lot of these AI utilized data, the output can be utilized, in many different locations out of a, national boundary. And also, in terms of data privacy issues, a lot of these need to be coordinated across different nations. And I think, the Chinese government officials would also voicing some of the concerns about the unequal access to AI. So all of these mean that we need to have a good preemptive, regulatory system that would help to not only promote AI development, but more importantly, to make sure that AI is utilized in an ethical way to the benefits of the great majority of the people.
So, Bao, what do you think are the challenges and opportunities in regulating the global AI industry?
Well, the AI development is going to bring revolutionary changes in people's life, and also in how people relate with each other, and also how people relate with their existing occupation, etc. So now it's just a rising industry that usher in the greater prospect. Of course, for any type of technological innovation, there has been fear. There has been now, particularly with artificial intelligence, because the worry is that they're going to be exposed to misuse, and then particularly now when the artificial intelligence is conducting on deep machine learning, and the deeper worry is that they may get really independent from human control. And then right now, there's another concern that there's going to be a digital divide between the developed world and also developing world in terms of the access to information, in terms of the way that how the artificial intelligence is going to be governed to service a bigger majority of humanity, or to service a bunch of elites. So these are really the new issues that are there, but the trend is there. So all in all, how we can really boost innovation, but in the meantime, to ensure that they are going to be used in the most ethical, responsible, and accountable way.
So, Jiahe, actually, people are talking about protecting people's privacy, finding the best use for AI in education, making sure that it's not used for malicious purpose. Those are imperative. But can you elaborate more on those goals? And, for example, how to make good use of AI in education, and how to make the good use of AI in your field, the financial sector?
Well, if you look at the AI, it's something really new to us. I mean, I think if we look at the viewpoint of maybe say 100 years later, then we're talking about a very early age of the artificial intelligence right now. I mean, most of the programs is still quite primitive, and many people, we still don't have a very good use of the AI at the moment. There are really a lot of things to increase in the future, but currently we have seen that AI has been pretty useful in the education sector, basically because education sector, especially for the primary education, I mean, not like universities or PhDs, but for the primary education, it's basically concluding the knowledge of what human beings has accumulated and teach it to the children. So this is compared to the research and developments that we do in universities, this is comparatively speaking, a much easier task. It is kind of, concluding all the materials. So the current AI program, this very primitive version of the AI, is quite capable of doing this job, for teachers. In the old days, teachers might have to read through like 10 books to make the conclusion, but now the AI program can just do that in a second. So they are really useful for teaching, especially in the primary sector. But when we talk about the artificial intelligence in the sectors that are more advanced, like research and development in universities, or as you mentioned, the financial market, the AI is much less capable because, for example, if you look at the financial market, there is no rule in the financial market that is set to say, okay, you just do this 1, 2, 3 steps and you are going to make a lot of money in the financial market. It just never works this way because the financial market is a place where people are fighting against the people. You have to win the other people to get extra return. This is not something the AI program that can do right now. But who knows what will happen after 30 or 40 years? Maybe at that time we will find out that no one can win the AI in the financial market, and finally we'll close the financial market because there's no use for human beings to participate into it if we can't win all the AI programs.
A very interesting discussion indeed. Thank you, Chen Jiahe, Chief Investment Officer at Novum Archi Technologies, Liu Baocheng, Professor with the University of International Business and Economics, and also Yan Liang, Professor of Economics, Willamette University. And that's all the time we have for this edition of Biz Today. I'm Zhao Yang in Beijing. Thank you so much for listening.